Hello students, welcome to all. This is Dr. Rupneshwar Meka, lecturer in geography. Today we shall discuss about man and environment. This is fourth module of third semester Women Geography. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the following points, which are 1. Introduction to environment. 2. Meaning and definitions of environment. 3. Importance of environmental studies. 4. Components of environment. 5. Classification of environment. 6. Structure of environment. 7. The nature of man. 8. The interaction of man in the diverse environments. 8. Man's adverse interactions with the environment. 9. Environmental awareness. And 10. Environmental management. For your convenience. So this module has been divided into 2 videos. In the first video, we will discuss about introduction to environment, meaning and definition of environment, importance of environmental studies, components of environment, and the classification of environment. The rest of the points we will discuss in the next video. Now, let us start with the introduction to environment. The earth is made up of complex interactive systems that are often unpredictable. Air, water, land, and life, including humans, combine forces to create a constantly changing world. Over time, over 2 million different forms of life have been identified on the planet Earth to this day, but scientists believe that there are millions more that have yet to be identified. The planet Earth, like Mercury and Venus, features mountain ranges, canyons, ridges, plains, and regions of volcanic activity. We all live in a wonderful world of nature. Study of Earth and its environment is a fascinating area of science. Nowadays, the word environment is often being used in almost all people around us, on television and in newspapers. Everyone is speaking about the presentation and preservation of environment. Global summits are being held regularly to discuss environmental issues. During the last 100 years, the mutual relationships among environment, social organization, and culture has been discussed in sociology, anthropology, and geography. All this show the increasing importance of environment. Besides, it is a fact that life is tied with the environment. Human geography, like other social sciences, has been borrowed the concept of ecology from biology. As a branch of biology, ecology is the study of the relationship between living beings and their environment. Sociology has been greatly influenced by biology. Sociology also studies the relationships between man and environment through ecology. The The field of study of human ecology and human geography is concerned around man and his environment. The credit of beginning the study of human ecology in the field of sociology goes to Clark and Burgess. There exists a close relationship between man and environment. On the one hand, man is born in an environment and establishes harmony with the environment. On the other hand, man tries to control his environment and change it according to his requirements. Hence, it requires an understanding of environment of which man is a part. Now, we will discuss about meaning and definitions of environment. The term environment has been derived from the Old French word environner, which means to encircle, enclose, surround, or all around. It refers to both abiotic, that is physical or non-living, and biotic, that is living environment. The word environment means surroundings in which organisms live. Environment and the organisms are two dynamic and complex components of nature. Environment regulates the life of the organisms, including human beings. Human beings interact with the environment more vigorously than other living beings. Ordinarily, environment refers to the materials and forces that surround the living organisms. Environment can be defined as the surroundings of conditions in which a person, animal, or a plant lives or operates. The figure 4.1 shows you the environment. The term environment refers to all elements of the physical and biological world, as well as the interactions between them. Environment plays preeminent role in the life cycle of human being, as human life is highly dependent on environment. Environment has productive value, aesthetic, recreational value, which has been explained later on in the following paragraphs. Environment is the sum total of conditions that surrounds us at a given point of time and space. It is comprised of the interacting system of physical, biological, and cultural elements which are interlinked both individually and collectively. Environment is the sum total of conditions in which an organism has to survive or maintain its life process. It will influence the growth and development of living organisms. In other words, environment refers to those surroundings that surrounds living beings from all sides and affect their lives in two. It consists of atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. Its chief components are soil, water, air, organisms, and solar energy. It has provided us all the resources for leading a comfortable life. Some of the outstanding definitions of the environment are given as the following. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica, environment is the complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors that act upon an organism or an ecological community and ultimately determine its form and survival. The International Encyclopedia of the Social and Behavioral Science defined the environment as the total external conditions and influences affecting the life and fortunes of organisms, affecting the parameters of life. According to P. Gisbert, environment is anything immediately surrounding an object and exerting a direct influence on it. According to Douglas and Holland, the term environment is used to describe in the aggregate all the external forces, influences and conditions which affect the life, nature and behavior and the growth, development and maturity of living organisms. According to E.J. Ross, environment is an external force which influences us. Thus, environment refers to anything that is immediately surrounding an object and exerting a direct influence on it. Our environment refers to those things or agencies which, though distinct from us, affect our life or activity. The environment by which man is surrounded and affected by factors which may be natural, artificial, social, biological, and psychological environment. Now we move with the importance of environmental studies. The science of environmental studies is a multidisciplinary science because it comprises various branches of studies like chemistry, physics, medical science, life science, agriculture, public health, sanitary, engineering, etc. It is the science of physical phenomena in the environment. It studies of the sources, reactions, transport, effect and fate of physical and biological species in the air, water and soil, and the effect of from the human activity upon these. Environment studies enlighten us about the importance of protection and conservation of our indiscriminate release of pollution into the environment. At present, a great number of environmental issues have grown in size and complexity day by day, threatening the survival of mankind on the earth. We study about these issues besides in effective suggestions in the environmental studies. Environment studies have become significant for the following reasons. 1. Environment issues being of international importance. it has been well recognized that environment issues like global warming and ozone depletion, acid rain, marine pollution, and biodiversity are not merely national issues but are global issues and hence must be tackled with the international efforts and cooperation. The second is problems cropped in the wake of development. Development in its wake gave birth to the urbanization, industrial growth, transportation system, agriculture, and housing, etc. However, it has become phased out in the development world. The North, to cleanse their own environment, has factfully managed to move dirty factories of South. When the West developed, it did so perhaps in ignorance of the environmental impact of its activities. Evidently, such a path is neither practicable nor desirable, even if developing world follows that. The third is explosively increase in pollution. World census reflects that 1 in every 7 persons in this planet lives in India. Evidently, with 16% of the world's population and only 2.4% of its land area, there is a heavy pressure on the natural resources, including land. Agricultural experts have recognized soil health problems like deficiency of micronutrients and organic matter, soil salinity, and damage of soil. Fourth is need for an alternative solution. It is essential, especially for developing countries, to find alternative paths to an alternative goal. We need a goal agenda. 1. A goal which ultimately is the true goal of development and environmentally sound and sustainable development. 2. A goal common to all citizens of our earth. 3. A goal distant from the developing world in manner it is from the over-consuming wasteful societies of the developed world. Need to save humanity from extinction. It is incumbent upon us to save the humanity from extinction. Consequent to our activities, constructing the environment and depleting the biosphere in the name of the development. The sixth one is need for wise planning of development. Our survival and sustenance depend. Resources withdraw, processing and use of the product are all to be synchronized with the ecological cycle. In any plan of development, our action should be planned ecologically for the sustenance of the environment and development. And seventh one is need for public awareness. It is essential to make up the public aware of the formidable consequences of the environmental degradation. If not retarded and reformative measures undertaken would result in the extinction of the life. We are facing various environmental challenges. It is essential to get the country acquainted with these challenges so that their acts may be eco-friendly. Now, we go to components of environment. Environment is constituted by the interacting system of physical, biological, and cultural elements. These elements are interrelated in various ways, individually as well as collectively. These elements may be explained as 1. Physical elements, 2. Biological elements, 3. Cultural elements. Physical elements are as space, landforms, water bodies, climate, soils, rocks, and minerals. They determine the variable characters of the human habitat, its opportunities, as well as limitations. The second, biological elements. Biological elements such as plants, animals, microorganisms, and humans constitute the biosphere. Third is cultural elements. Cultural elements include economic, social, and political conditions which are essentially man-made features which make cultural milieu. Since environment is a complex totality of physical and biological factors, it contains both living or biotic and non-living or abiotic components. It has been divided into 4 different types of 5 different types as the following based on the various parameters. 1. MacLever and Page have been mentioned of 2 types of environment, namely A. Outer environment and B. Inner environment. The next, Marshall Jones has spoken of the 3 kinds of environment. 3 kinds of environment: physical, social, and cultural environment. P. Gisborne has divided environment into 4 types. A. Natural environment. B. Artificial environment. C. Social environment. And D. Psychological environment. Kimball Young divided it into only 2 types. 1. Geographic environment, and 2. Socio-cultural environment. Kurt Lewin has studied environment into 3 types. A. Physical environment. B. Social and cultural environment. And C. Psychological environment. In the present module, we study the types of environment as the following ways. According to Kurt Lewin, environment is of the 3 types which influence the personality of an individual as under mentioned. 1. Physical environment. 2. Social and cultural environment. And 3. Psychological environment. The physical environment. Physical environment refers to geographical climate and weather or physical conditions wherein an individual lives. The human races are greatly influenced by the climate. Some examples of physical environment are as the following. 1. In the cold countries, that is in European countries, the people are of white color. Likewise, in Asian and African countries, that is in hot countries, people are of dark complexion. 2. The physique of an individual depends on climate conditions as the individual tries to adjust in his physical environment. And 3. The human working efficiency also depends on the climatic condition. The second is social environment. Social environment includes an individual's social, economic, and political condition wherein he lives. The moral, cultural, and emotional forces influence the life and nature of individual behavior. Society may be classified into two categories as mentioned in the following. A. An open society is very conducive for the individual development. B. A closed society is not very conducive for the development. The third is psychological environment. Although physical and social environment are common to the individual in a specific situation, yet every individual has his own psychological environment in which he lives. Kurt Lewin has used the term life space for explaining psychological environment. The psychological environment enables us to understand the personality of an individual, both the person and his goal from physical environment. If a person is unable to overcome barriers, he can either get frustrated or completed to change his goal for a new psychological environment. But adopting this mechanism, the individual is helped in his adjustment to the environment. The environment has a huge impact on an individual's behavior and intellect. Any change that occurs in a living entity, either directly or indirectly, is related to a change in his immediate surroundings. According to Kimball Young, there are two types of environment as under mentioned. 1. Geographical environment, and 2. Man-made environment or cultural environment. Geographical environment, also called as natural environment, consists of the things that are provided by nature. This can also be called as physical environment, for it includes the physical conditions of life. Everything that is not human-made comes under the natural environment. This environment includes the surface of the earth, natural resources, land and water, mountains and plains, fertile lands and deserts, oceans, storms, cyclones, weather and climatic factors, seasons, etc. It also includes biological conditions such as plants, animals, and with all their complexities. Dear students, let us learn about the different domains of the natural environment or geographical environment. Now, these are the lithosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. Here, lithosphere. The lithosphere is the solid crust or the hard top layer of the earth. It is made up of rocks and minerals and covered with a thin layer of soil. The lithosphere is an irregular surface with mountains, plateaus, plains, valleys, landforms, etc. It is the domain that provides us with forests, grasslands for grazing, land for agriculture and housing. It is also a source of minerals. Hydrosphere is the domain of water. It comprises of various sources of water and different types of water bodies like rivers, lakes, seas, oceans, estuaries, etc. It is essential for all living organisms. C. Atmosphere. The atmosphere is the thin layer of air that surrounds the earth. It is held by the gravitational force of the earth. The atmosphere protects us from the harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun by blocking them out. It contains a number of gases like oxygen, which is essential for life, dust and water vapor. Changes in atmosphere bring changes in weather and climate. The fourth is, that is D is biosphere. All life making makes up the biosphere. It is the zone of the earth where land, water and air interact with each other to support life. The figures on the screen disclose to you about the natural environment. The figure 4.2 depicts the natural environment, while figure 4.3 depicts the biosphere, the fourth domain of the natural environment. The second is man-made environment. It is also known as cultural environment. In order to control the conditions of his life, man has created a new environment which can be called as man-made environment, and some have called it as socio-cultural environment. It can be subdivided into the following two types: A, outer environment, and B, inner environment. A, the outer environment. Man, through the introduction of science and technology, has tried to modify the conditions of physical environment. It can be understood as outer environment. What we are today are because of the modifications of physical environment introduced by man's technology. It includes our houses and cities, our means of transport, communication, our comforts and conveniences. It also includes the vast systems of industry and machinery created by man. It covers in brief the whole apertures of our civilization. Some anthropologists have called this part of socio-cultural environment the material culture. B, the inner environment. The inner environment is the society itself. It is the social environment and endures only so long as the society endures. It consists of the organizations and regulations, the traditions and the institutions. It also includes the folkways and mores and customs which every human group provides for man. This environment is also known as social heritage and sometimes refers to as the order of non-material culture. The social heritage is the necessary condition for human social life to arise and to continue. It has a profound influence on man's life. The so-called artificial environment, which refers to the modified form of physical environment, and the economic environment, which refers to all the things of human creation that have a great economic value, can be understood as nothing but two aspects of the man-made environment. It should be noted that man cannot separate our outer environment as one order of the things from the social environment. The outer and the inner environments are blended. For example, the land which we bring under civilization is more than a land. It is a form of property. It is often worshipped also, as the Hindus too in India. The houses are also homes that present the institution of family. Thus, the various facts of the total environment, that is the physical, the inner and the outer, are merged together in our experience. The figure on the screen, the figure 4.4, depicts you the man-made environment, that is built environment. As mentioned in the above paragraphs, since the environment is a combination of physical and biological factors, it contains both living or biotic and non-living or abiotic components. On the basis of this basic structure, the environment can be divided into the following two types. A, living or biotic environment, and B, physical or non-living or abiotic environment. Let us discuss each of them. A, living or biotic environment. Biotic environment consists of plants, that is flora, fungus, bacteria, and animals, that is fauna, including human beings as a significant factor. Thus, biotic environment can be of two types, such as floral environment and faunal environment. B, physical or non-living or abiotic environment. The physical or abiotic environment is made up of solids, that is soil, minerals, liquids, that is water, and gases, that is air, states. These three elements signify lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere respectively. On the basis of spatial distribution, smaller units are termed as coastal environment, plateau environment, mountain environment, lake environment, river environment, maritime environment, etc. The figure 4.5 on the screen discloses you about biotic and abiotic environment. Based on the definitions as we discussed in the previous paragraph, apart from the above, a number of environments are now recognized which differ from one another in some respects, which are explained as the following. 1. The built environment. 2. The urban environment. 3. The political environment. And 4. The spiritual environment. Now, let us discuss about the above 4 environments in detail. The built environment. This, according to a Bellomy, is a well-planned area built providing congenial conditions Fourier noted that the built environment is also seen by some people as the area on the surface of the earth modified by human activities. This thus results in human-made surroundings that provide the setting for human activities ranging in scale from buildings and parks or green space to the neighborhoods and cities that also include their surrounding infrastructure. The built environment is the environment that is of great interest to professionals such as town planners, land and quantity surveyors, architects, civil engineers, builders, horticulturists, and estate managers, among others. The second is urban environment. The term urban environment refers to the environment of a city. It is characterized by many buildings in a limited amount of space with a high per capita per square mile. Most of the living spaces, working spaces, shopping areas, health and educational facilities and services, etc., are grouped in close proximity to each other. It is usually characterized by limited open areas and specifically planned areas or places that have been abandoned because of the higher value of real estate in urban centers. Many urban areas are plagued by the lack of space for many activities and establishments. The third is the political environment. The political environment comprises of government actions which affect the operations of a company, business or territory. Political environment embraces such things as politics, governance, policies, and such other human activities that are regulated by legislations, laws, and directives emanating from the governments at all levels. This environment is also known as political government environment. And the fourth is the spiritual environment. This is a special environment that has hitherto either been completely neglected or glossed over by people. This is the environment that the spiritual component of human being interacts with at the subconscious level. It is the extraterrestrial environment where the human spirit interacts with the supernatural spirit, the spirit of a supreme being, which is also known as God, as well as other spiritual beings, such as the devil and his cohorts. It is this environment that has given rise to a diverse religions through which their believers interact with their gods in ways that are special to them. In some religions, these gods are the intermediary between their adherents and the supreme being, whose existence most religions recognize. It is also believed that it is the operation of some people in the spiritual environment, though wrongly, that has given rise to such issues as ritual murder and such evil actions and corruption, violence, and other forms of deadly sins. Environment, however, mainly consists of atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. But it can be roughly divided into two types, such as A, microenvironment, and B, macroenvironment. Microenvironment means the immediate local surroundings of the organisms. Whereas the macro environment means all the physical and biotic conditions that surround the organisms externally. Dear students, so far we have discussed the following points, major points in this module, which are introduction to environment, meaning and definitions of environment, importance of environmental studies, components of environmental, and classification of environment. Dear students, in the next session, we will discuss about the rest of the major points of this module. Thank you, Ananda.